Hello, everybody. It's your four favorite unstereotypical millennial black women talking about taboo topics and the dimensions of the black experience. We trust no one. We question all the bullshit. We are the Get Your Life Project. And today's episode is about monogamy. Are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes?
Totally.
My name is Bimbai. I'll be moderating this episode. And everybody's just going to introduce themselves real quick.
I am Sierra, or C Nasty, as I like to be called outside.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
I'm Ash. Gotta catch him. Yeah, I'm gonna keep riding that.
Ride it.
Hey girl, hey. I am Tiffany, or TLC.
All right. Gonna dig right into it. Today's main topic came from how we just think it's funny how people think monogamy is natural. And as millennials, you know we had to dive into this one. The first question, or the first way we're going to start this, is by defining what monogamy is. In the context of this conversation, monogamy is the practice of being with one sexual partner or being married to one partner in general. So we're going to talk about it in that context, and we'll kind of dive into the different types of other ways of being with people. What y'all think? Do you guys think, like, monogamy is still valid? And what other options have you seen people dabbling in to kind of get away from that?
Monogamy is the devil.
Well, then.
The devil.
The devil?
The devil.
Damn.
Damn,
She wins.
Gotta be dark. I'm the dark one. Anyway. I don't know.
You melanated though?
I am.
Dark.
But I'm like, I would be on the porch a little bit. I might be at the front of the field. You feel
So
me?
you like, oh, I see.
I'm not a porch monkey, but I'll be at the front.
Yo,
You be a little
Ashley.
bit- you be in the house? No.
So is this a form of a diversion from monogamy? This is what happens. Someone just come in.
Yeah.
They're like,
And you
let's have
get
an entirely
distracted.
different conversation.
And then you no longer monogamous.
Yep. It was.
Because monogamy is Voldemort.
It's Voldemort?
It is.
Is this what we're going
But
into?
wait. Haven't we all been monogamous at some point in our life?
You don't know my life.
Don't
Tell
speak
us
for
about
her.
it. Tell us.
Don't you speak for her, Ashley.
I think my like inner child is monogamous. But like adult me, nah.
Nah.
I want to be, but other people don't want to be. So that's monogamy.
Do you think, like, going back to the main, like, question or whatever, do you think it's because it's not natural or it's just not the norm for our current generation?
Define natural.
Natural is like what comes to us instinctively. Like, you naturally want to sleep when you've been up for 36 hours.
You're right.
So that's where...
Oh, wow. Thank you for
You're
that
welcome.
definition. That made my brain go, okay, I understand.
Because you understand sleep.
I do. I like sleep.
sleep.
Yeah.
But
Actually,
need
you look
sleep.
like you're thinking. Let's hear your thoughts.
Them wills.
Do you need monogamy the way you need sleep?
I think I've been taught that I need monogamy the way I need sleep.
Okay. Has it been a good lesson? Like, what are the pros and cons of that?
I mean, yeah, having a life partner is like completely dope. It's practical. Like you need that. Like
But practical sounds so practical.
practical sounds so practical, but it can be pleasant. You know, you
Okay.
have a rom-com night. You know, you guys plan dinner. You know, you cook with each other. It can be really romantic.
What are the alternatives to that, though? You can have rom-com nights with multiple people.
You can.
You can be entertained by those multiple people.
Well, see, I'm not arguing that. I'm not disavowing that. I just think that I have yet to experience that. And so, actually, I'm not in a relationship because I want to meet new people. I want to meet boys and I want to meet girls. And I've expressed that. So that's part of my, like, I guess stint is that, like, I'm trying to break from the molds in which I've been, like, taught and like go explore the things that I'm interested in, you know? So that's why. I mean, I don't think monogamy is the devil, but, I do think,
It is. I agree.
I do think it's something that we all kind of, like, have inherited and feel very close to, and it's nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know how I feel about digging into people's souls, right? So you both are saying that, so Tiff and Sierra, how monogamy is the devil. I'm going to go into the, I guess, pros and cons of monogamy, and also, what other options exist? You know there's the rise of the fuckboy, fuckgirl. Do you think that does not
They've
come
been
from
here.
that? But that comes from
Death
that
eaters.
thinking that monogamy is the devil, right? Like, that's where that's coming from. So how do you guys connect those two in?
I think the fuck boys and the fuck girls have like trashed the definition of monogamy. So going back to, do I think it's necessary the way I need sleep? No, but it works because I'm lazy and I don't like
Wow.
people. and too many people drain my energy. I only want one person to drain my energy.
Well then.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, look, monogamy is nice. It is very nice. It's practical. It's nice. You got somebody to rub your butt. You don't got to worry about STDs.
That butt rubbing
You
is nice.
at least you think you don't have to worry about it because they can still be trash.
Like pleasant denial.
It is, but you got somebody to go for walks with and midnight runs to Wawa and they rub your butt. I'm like, that's nice. I like that.
Use that.
But then it get dark and cold and lonely.
How dark?
Cause then they be like, "Oh, girl, I love you, but I love her butt." I'll be like, "What?"
So do you think, I think going back into the natural part, like, do you feel like it's realistic to expect people to only be attracted to one partner then? Like, and does that define the success or fall of monogamy as an entity?
I think you have to be realistic. People are going to be attracted to other people. People are going to desire other people. But I feel like within the person, it is a constant choice to be monogamous. Like, I'm choosing you every single day, regardless of all of the bad bitches walking around. And
But doesn't that like ride into like that pleasant denial, which is like, do you like to be lied to, or do you want to be lied to? Like, I mean, because you know that people are going to be attracted to other people.
But do they have to lie to you about that? I think it goes into expectations, which I'm going to tie to, I guess, the origin of monogamy and what we have placed as expectations of what that's supposed to look like, and then trying to strive to that and figuring out how hard it is. In our 20s, like, we're not kids. We're starting to see, like, all right, like, this is work. Like, you got it.
I think we've turned it into remove your eyeballs. Don't ever say that Susie is attractive. No, you may not think that Bobby is hot. I'm hot. The only thing that's allowed to be hot ever. Now let me be the only thing that warms you up.
so, do you think that it's become really strict? Because that's what it sounds like from that example.
And do you think it came from that in the stem? Like, building off of that? Sorry, before you answer.
I think monogamy in and of itself is not the devil. The way that we do monogamy is what turns people off from it. I think at the end of the day, it's a very simple concept. I like you. I might also like this other person's face, but I'm making the constant choice to not touch that other person's face. And usually for me, I think it implies emotional connection. I think you can be attracted to multiple people. I think you can sleep with multiple people. Use condoms. But I think at the end of the day, very few people have the capacity to have intense emotional connections with more than one person.
Right.
Very true.
Do you think, like...
I'm just to go off of that, I'm just saying, like, the thing that, like, I read from that is, like, you know, as much as we're realistic about the fact that we're attracted to other people, our feelings, our ingrained feelings are, like, tied to, like, the merriment of, like, you know, if some, like, even though, like, I can see that you're, like, attracted to this other person, regardless whether it's, like, sexual or even emotional, like, it would definitely hurt, you know, as a monogamous, like, person to, like, see that person, like, act on it, even though we already know that, like, from the basis that, like, that could be, like, a possibility.
That's interesting that you say that, because I'm digging deeper into, I guess, the other alternatives, because there's polyamory. There's actually a website about this, and they were talking about, like, the jealousy that every person has to deal with if they do decide to engage in polyamorous relationships. And it's, like, the fact that that inherently exists in most people, some level of ownership, some level of, I'm going to get jealous if, like, someone else is trying to, quote-unquote, encroach into my territory. Do you think that feeds into the idea of monogamy as a natural factor, A? And B, like, from the sources of monogamy, like, why is this even a thing? Like,
because
where
we're
did we even start?
Like,
Okay.
Like, we're all insecure. And it's nothing, like, wrong with that. Like, I mean, I don't know. Like, unless you're really unfeeling, like...
Sociopath.
Like, which, hey, some of us, like... But, like, unless you're really unfeeling, like, I can understand where that's coming from. Yeah. But I also... I mean, maybe there can be, like, a balance between, you know... knowing that your partner, like, may be interested in somebody, but then at the same time respecting, you know, each other's wishes. And I guess that's, you know, what healthy, you know, monogamy might be, like, brought back to.
Right.
But,
so I guess we should go into, like, the purposes of monogamy. Why do you think it exists? Like, why did it need to happen? Maybe for people, if you want to dive into, like, families. Like, what benefit does it have to be in a monogamous relationship when you're trying to build a family? What benefits does it have personally, like the pros of it? Because I feel like as a generation, we are very clear on the negatives of monogamy and how many options it blocks. But like finding that balance between the two, since we've kind of figured out that like people might want that, but just not know how to get about to having that with someone else who wants the same thing, or where it looks like the way that they see it.
I mean, I think it kind of goes back to religion and why monogamy is kind of a thing now, and we're getting away from it. But if you
What religion?
Christianity, the thing that was forced on everybody and their mama.
I feel like there are other religions.
Yeah,
There are other
definitely. Yeah,
religions,
like
but I feel like
if we're in America, like,
in America,
talking about-
Like, because there
Christianity
are some
is
where
the
monogamy
main.
isn't the thing.
Yeah.
That's true. Christianity does push monogamy.
Yeah, so I feel like when it goes back to the good book, Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, not Billy and Bob, not Susie and whoever. I think that's where it comes from, like this hard-pressed Christianity that people have kind of taken to become a part of the patriarchal society we live in today. And that's why monogamy
Tied it
exists.
to the patriarchy.
Patriarchy. Always.
But
No, go ahead.
I was like, I mean, bringing it back to like that practical sense. I mean, like just think about like doing things all by yourself. You know, it can be really hard to like, you know. I mean, I'm just gonna go back to like thinking about agriculture, but like just like you know, building a farm, like you know, raising like cattle. Like it helps to have another person do that. And then if you actually fall in love with this person and you guys like decide to have a home and kids, and those kids will help do that. This is all with like emotions like removed, I guess. But like it just. I think having a life partner and later down the line, like, definitely helps. And having multiple people, I think the problem, you know, it can get out of hand in terms of trying to, like, you know, please everybody and make everybody's needs. Maybe when we're younger and we're in this, like, somewhat privileged society and don't necessarily have to worry about, like, you know, raising cattle. You know, we can have all the fun that we want in terms of like meeting our partners, but later down the line when we want to generate income and stuff.
I mean, I think that kind of going off what you're saying, Ashley, I think it kind of comes down to the fact that we live longer as well. So I think that's another reason why we question it now, where back in the day, you probably got married at like 10 or as soon as you bled and you were able to wed off to a man, and then next thing you know you got like 10 children.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they had to help you on the farm, and then you died probably around like 20 or 30 years old. So they didn't have time to sit there and be like, you know,
that's true.
I like my husband I got married to when I was 10, but you know, John over there in the other farm, he looked like he might know how to throw it down.
Know,
like
right?
we have more time to think about that now.
I feel like we got less pressure on us.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I feel like we still have a lot of the like rigid things against us, like women and like their lady parts. People still like, when you gonna push something out of them? But I'm like, but I'm broke, and I'm probably not gonna be making $40,000 for like another 10 years. So fuck a biological clock. There's no mad dash anymore to like get married and settle down. I feel like monogamy used to mean marriage. It was a contract. It was a business arrangement.
I feel like it is still that. Like, I feel like there is an element of that, but kind of piggybacking off what you said.
But because we all poor and probably don't got benefits,
doesn't mean as much.
It doesn't mean that I'm like necessarily going to get someone's life insurance.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but I mean,
you have to think about it again. If we're talking about back in the day, women were given to families for their dowry. So that means the man who married her made money from that transaction, and she couldn't inherit the land. So that means that she needed to marry somebody so that she could have somewhere to live. Otherwise, she was going to be a teacher, teach somebody's baby somewhere, and then she was going to die alone as a cat lady. So
in my culture is the opposite. So there is some polygamy existing, and I come from Zimbabwe, so it's not a large population of people like legally marrying multiple wives, but when they do, the man pays the bride price. So it was a sign of like, I'm wealthy. I'm so wealthy that I can pay the bride price for multiple women and afford to take care of them and their children. So it was almost like the way you buy cattle, and you're like, I have enough money to buy 4 cars. That means something. I have enough money to buy 4 wives. That means something. But in a society where, like you said, like women are making their own money and all of those things, it goes into like, are those purposes of monogamy even still fitting? And I'm going to go a little further with that and talk about how we are now marrying for love and if that makes an impact over like people
Yeah,
knowing
that's what, and that's like
yep, if that makes an impact on whether people are willing to stay connected to one person.
That emotional tie, I think, is something like that's really important because, like you said, like we don't have as like much pressure on us anymore, but the emotional like hormonal imbalances of like wanting a person or loving a person or having that one that you want is still there, and like it messes with your brain. Like you gotta like be like, okay, like I mean like I do want someone to like live my life with because I've seen all the rom-coms in the world, but at the same time, I mean, given like, you know, science and like your like biological clock, like is this like a need? Is this a want? Is this going to like, I don't know, is it purposeful? Like,
but it goes into like friendship and things like that. I feel like there are a lot of things that like existentially or rather like physiologically we don't need to stay alive and to keep being who we are, but they make our lives feel fuller. So that goes into an individual and whether they feel like having one partner or having multiple partners makes them feel like their life is more fulfilled or they have enough support to do whatever else they want to do, since like clearly like having children is not the main goal anymore apparently.
I mean, it has to be for love, because nowadays instead of making money from a marriage, you're taking on someone's debt and whatever medical decisions that they need to make, and
you might have to pay them because the marriage didn't work out.
Right,
that's true.
You might, because there's a such thing as a contract to get married now. Oh, you're not gonna take my money, and if you do, we're gonna fight. That's not gonna happen.
That is not, yeah.
And
like I think attached to that also I guess the shame attached to not wanting monogamy. There is a lot of like, oh, I'm marrying this. If I can't marry this person for the financial benefit, I'm not going to do it at some level. Or if I'm not going to be with this person for any benefit beyond caring about them. And I guess the shame attached to not wanting that lifestyle, or vice versa. I feel like as millennials,
Like
we are
these
switching
days,
into
it's more shame if you do want monogamy, especially if you a woman.
Dig into that,
I mean,
Tiffany. Tell us more.
Because you might be desperate if you want to be with somebody.
oh man,
Oh no.
Yes, sir. That's the word of the year. You didn't hear
not the D word.
2017. Like
I thought desperate came and died
2016 was
a long
waste
time
his
ago.
time, and now in 2017, all women are desperate. Did you hear?
But I feel like that applies to men too, with the whole "oh, he's thirsty" and blah blah. Like it's like there's a very very small frame
I
where
feel
it's
like
okay to
Men are
express.
usually thirsty for like some skin, some cheeks. That's usually the narrative.
sex. She's saying.
Vagina, coitus. Whereas women, if you like blink at somebody for why you blinking at me? We not together. But you said I could blink at you, and you only been blinking at me for 3 weeks, so I thought this was like gonna be a thing.
I think that relationships have become dominated by the male, like in relationship as well. Like they again are determining whether or not you are going to even be able to enter into a relationship.
How is that different from monogamy in the past?
I think it might have been determined by the family. I don't think a woman has ever had a choice in whether there was going to be a relationship or not, just based off the fact that men are usually the person that is courting anything. And then they had to go to the parents and say, hey, can I marry your daughter? Or I want to be with her. And I think because we took the family out of that and now it's a personal decision, it's generally kind of led by the male. Yeah.
How much power do you think we have in determining how our monogamous relationships look in light of that? Because that sounds like monogamy is a tool of the patriarchy.
It is a
but
tool
like
of the patriarchy.
in terms of that, like how much power do we have as individuals, male or female, to kind of cater our relationship in the way that we feel comfortable with without it becoming a case of like the shame that we talked about before of like, oh, so you can't do regular monogamy, what's wrong with you?
I think we have a lot of power, but outside pressures be diminishing that power. Usually, apart from like intense emotional connections to people, we're mostly rational human beings, and it's like we forget that we can communicate. If we don't want to be out here saying, oh, Bobby can't look at Susie and Susie can't look at Bobby, you can say that. You can sit down and be like, potential boyfriend, potential lady friend. We can actually sit here and decide what our monogamy looks like. Does it look like rage and jealousy? Does it look like possession? Does it look like you gotta call me 3 times a day every day or else we breaking up right now? Like, that's not what it has to look like. And I think we forget to communicate and we like to go with the flow And this
Oh
generation,
no, we gotta talk about going with
which
the
usually
flow.
means avoid everything until shit hit the fan, and then complain that the fan is shitty, but you let it get that way.
I'm gonna go off on that because do you feel like an avoidance of monogamy is avoiding personal responsibility? Is
Yes.
that where we are headed right now, or
We
are
are
people
right
avoiding the institute?
What's
for what it
personal
means?
responsibility? I don't know what that means.
I think if somebody feels personal responsibility is I am in connection with this other person, there are things that I could do that could affect their feelings, and like to what extent do I feel responsible for my effect on how they feel about me, about whatever is going on in general.
I mean, nobody wants to be the bad guy. And I feel
Right.
like because of that, I'm going to do all I can to avoid the personal responsibility. I know personally, as Sierra, I don't like taking the blame for stuff that happens in my relationships. I will point my finger at you so hard, you'll feel my finger in your heart. Like you will
Dang,
feel
girl.
that. Because it's bad and I'm working on it. But I am trying to figure out a way to accept the fact that sometimes there are things that I do that can bother the other person or the person that I'm dating.
Right.
Without me still feeling like a bad person. Like I know in many fights that I've had with many guys that I've been with, I'm like, I'm not the bullshitter here. I'm not the shitty person. You're making me feel like a shitty person. I'm not shitty. And I'm not. But I don't like feeling that way either. So I think it kind of comes from that. Like, why would I take the blame when you can take that blame?
That sounds like it's connecting with the whole idea that like millennials don't take responsibility. Do y'all think that's tied to that, or is that bullshit? Like the fact that we feel like the previous generation has done things that make us who we are. We always feel like, you know,
no,
I feel
it's
we're not
their
as
fault.
close. I feel like we're not as intimate. We're a
we're
little
not
uncomfortable.
we're not as empathetic.
Ooh,
I think we lack a lot of
damn.
feeling.
But do you think it's function? I think it's functional that we need an element of that to survive in this world we've created for ourselves.
Like
Socially.
I think it works. I think we're very much a culture of free spiritedness, but we've kind of taken that too far left. In my opinion, it's just my opinion. I think we've taken it too far left, where being a free spirit means that Dobby is a free elf, and I think everyone's kind of out here trying to like grasp for autonomy. So as a result, they're not holding themselves accountable and thinking, hey, you know what? This thing that I do might make somebody feel like trash. We'd be like, I see no trash. I smell no trash. I didn't even take out the trash. So what do you mean?
Yeah.
But that goes back to the personal responsibility, and that goes into tying it back to monogamy. Like, how can you build any kind of relationship with someone and not work on that?
Without
so I feel like
personal responsibility, how can you have a relationship? Why does it scare people so much?
Ashley,
Oh, damn. This question seems like it's really posed at me. I mean, I think it's like a lot. I don't know. I'm going to use like kind of a general example. I don't know if it'll answer the question, but hopefully it will. Like, if you know that your partner has like a natural interest in like somebody, and I mean, we already have established that, like, it's natural for humans to, like, be interested in other people, maybe sexually, maybe emotionally, whatever. But it becomes a problem because, you know, we're not going to pretend that that doesn't happen, but it emotionally can stifle you, especially if, you know, they act on that. You know, there's a little jealousy. There's something that's ruminating that we've all been taught, even though if you could broaden that perspective and just be like, hey, I see you as a person. I see that naturally that interest is there. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm not going to take away that humanity aspect of you. Like, maybe there's some way we can work that out. But the problem is that it's at the stake of your being in their life. It becomes a problem because it stifles your presence in their life because they like that other person, because they want to be with that other person, because they want to talk with that other person. But it doesn't necessarily always have to be like that.
I like
Maybe
that,
there's
yeah.
a holistic, you know, view.
So is there
But
an
then it
alternative?
comes with that, like, trying to like please everybody, and no one human can like actually do all that. But
and it's like, is it the job of someone in a relationship to, like, is it your job in a monogamous relationship to please your partner? Because I think that's also a big part in monogamy, where people, like, to what extent do you sacrifice your individuality? To what extent do you sacrifice your self-discovery and stuff like that, and make
like,
room for your partner to
it's
do the
all
same?
your perception, because sometimes it's not, it's sometimes it's not necessarily to please, but maybe it's to help them grow.
Right,
Like,
right.
And if you like fully love this person, like, I'm not gonna like sit here and just be like, oh, don't look at that person, don't see that person, don't not see that person. I'm like, because I've been in this world and I've been, you know, what is the word, like I've been, you know, brought up by this experience. Of course, like, I feel some type of way, but like my heart sees it as like, I don't want to take that from you, but maybe there's a way we can work it out, you know, where we both, you know, maybe I help you, maybe you help me. Now, as to whether that's practical, you know, there's
personally, I feel like it solves both problems, because if you allow your partner to be dynamic, which is really hard, because like we all have elements of like, hey, you're the one at fault. We all have elements of like, no, I want you to myself. But I think trying to find enough room for the other person, for yourself to grow, they become a dynamic human being. So you are less bored. Like, they keep changing and evolving into a better version of yourself, and vice versa. Always that idealistic. And then in turn, you have an element of that, like, I guess, uniqueness to your relationship where it's interesting enough, and you constantly have to learn each other and keep it going.
I feel like that sounds great in terms of evolving and being in a relationship where you're both pushing each other. But usually when we talking about this, it's somebody being like, I want to go have sex with somebody else.
Oh,
so are we saying that, you know, we are both dynamic individuals? I'm not on their ass, they're not on mine. However, they want to be on someone else's ass. But I still want them, and I still want to keep this emotional tie. However, my exploration, my growth just tends to be of a sexual nature, and I need to go grow with other people. You're no longer monogamous.
But that doesn't mean it takes away from...
I think it does.
Doesn't. It just means you're not monogamous.
But I think that for me personally, I've been posed this question in my own relationship. What does monogamy look like, and how can we try to figure it out? And I am too far along in my relationship, going 2 years now, to change the way that I am viewing the relationship for me. Because if we had started our relationship and it had been something that we're like, okay, we'll just kind of see where it goes. We're monogamous romantically and personally, but sexually we're exploring with other people, then I might have been able to put that in a box in my head that makes sense. But now that we have gone down this path where we're 2 years in and we're like, oh, well, let's try to figure it out. You want to go fuck other people? You want to go, you know, be in a relationship with somebody else? And it becomes one of those things where you're like, but what if this thing that I built with you, I lose it? A lot of the things that people have an issue with when it comes to monogamy and then trying to change that is that they are afraid of what they are going to lose. Which is another reason why people cheat don't tell you, because they don't want to lose what they have with that person.
Yeah, they don't want to lose you. They don't want to lose
what you build
themselves.
Right. Not even themselves, but like, for example,
I think I run into people who don't want to lose themselves.
Okay.
Just speaking from my own experience,
Okay.
I feel like I get a lot of people who enjoy the perks, the comforts of consistency with one person, but they think that defining that thing means a box that they're not going to be able to get out of.
I think like my brother said something really powerful to me about that, because I was expressing something like that where I was like, oh, I've not been with someone as long as I've been with my current partner, and I was like, oh, I'm walking into that where it's like I've changed from the moment that we've met, and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm changing. I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah.
And he was like, but you are responsible for you, whether you're with someone or not.
Very
you're
true.
responsible for what boundaries you allow to be crossed. You're responsible for how much you allow them to mold you and change you. That can be positive or negative, but if you don't express what your boundaries are, don't expect them to do that for you. That's your job. You are responsible for you. You are responsible for your personal growth as much as they're responsible for theirs. And like, that was kind of transforming for me, because I think we have made monogamy this thing where we expect the other person to be some kind of deity that knows every single thing about us, and to bring us personal fulfillment and personal growth, and
to plug all your holes.
Yeah, to plug all your holes, to know everything about you, to know all your boundaries. And it's like, no, you are still responsible for you, even in this connection. And I think that was like recent, but it was so powerful for me to think about it that way, to be like, wait, even if they make mistakes, I'm not personally responsible for that. They're responsible for their growth. I can be supportive in that, but I can't take full blame for the decisions that they make. And also for myself, if I'm starting to feel stifled, I'm there. I'm part of this connection. I'm letting that happen. So how do we like have conversations around that to make it healthy for both of us and to create space? So I don't know if you guys want to like talk about, we asked the social medias about this topic.
The Twitters, the Instagrams, and the book of faces.
And just so our listeners know, our Twitter and Instagram at GetYLP. And we're basically going to talk about, I guess everyone can talk about one thing that one of the responders said, a question, a comment, something that will be interesting for us to kind of dive into so they can be here with us.
Somebody slid into our DMs.
Ooh.
Goes down in our DMs. Somebody on Instagram, we're going to call her Susie Q.
Hey, Susie.
So the question, what was our question? It was, do you think monogamy is natural? I believe that was the question we posed to y'all. And somebody said, I think monogamy in terms of building a life together is a real thing. But in the bedroom, I don't think it's really fair to expect your partner to be into everything that you are into. Nor is it at all likely. Additionally, it's like, well, then at what point do we say, okay, my partner can't do X, Y, and Z for me? But is that okay? Question mark. So they took monogamy and immediately jumped to the sex.
The sex part.
They said monogamy not practical in the bedroom. Let it be known it is practical everywhere else except for.
See, this is why the Christians were
The
like, wait till marriage. They were like, what you don't know ain't gonna hurt you.
Right. But get married at 12.
Basically.
So what if you're into the vanilla and somebody's into the kinks and things?
What do you guys think? Like, to what extent can you sacrifice those interests?
Then you're just not monogamous at that point, y'all.
Yeah,
I think we deeply internally we want it so much because we think of it as love or the emotion. However, once you open it up for a third party or more, you are no longer monogamous. It's almost like the people who don't want monogamy are afraid to say that they don't
want it.
They don't want it.
Do you think there's shame attached to that?
I think they want a partner. They want a companion, a comfort person. But they're also like, I want to go, get slapped around a little bit. Is that okay? But can I still be monogamous?
My problem with that is that's not fair to the person who wants to be in a monogamous relationship. Again, if you start a relationship and you're both like, hey, I want to fuck other people because I'm nasty. And they like, okay, I want to fuck other people because I'm nasty too. Then that's fine. But if you are with someone who is a monogamous through and through and you like, I want to go screw my brains out with whoever I feel like I want to screw my brains out with, that's not fair to that person. You need to leave them alone. It's not. That's not right. Because you're not giving them what they want inherently. And would you want that? If you are that person, would you want that person to be like, you better be monogamous? That's it.
So I'm going to dig into that a little. Like, whose responsibility is it for that? Because I feel like you are trusting that people have goodwill, that they're going to be like, hey,
goodwill.
I am taking, or I'm not giving this person what they want, but I have some kind of power over them because they care about me.
Yeah.
So let me make this good decision for them. But it's like kind of that element of like, is it their responsibility to make that decision for the other person? Is it the responsibility of the person who feels like they're being taken advantage of to be like, hey, this is my personal boundary? Or is it mutual? Like, is it if you care about someone, then both of you should be trying to find a way that works and is healthy for both people?
Well, yeah, I think a lot of I think there's a level of honesty, and there has to be a level of honesty within the relationship as far as you being an ever-changing, ever-growing human being. So the fact that you can enter into a relationship and want monogamy at first, but then feel those changes. And we all, are knowing that sometimes our partners get sexually attracted to somebody. Sometimes they get emotionally attracted to somebody. But since we become we become afraid that we're going to lose something. And I think a lot of good relationships get thrown away because there's an establishment of love that you and this person know. You care about each other. But once they act on their natural human interest, it's well, damn. So I don't know, even expressing the fact that you have these other interests and these other things, even if it's minute or large, brings about some insecurity and some things within the relationship. And so unless you're able to in that moment be okay, I see that this is changing. I think we're very black and white about these things, but we got to understand that the gray is always there.
But see, let me give an example because I feel like people are like, oh man, it's cool to just change the game in the middle of it. So you at work, right? And your job is to pick apples, right? And you're good at it. You're the best apple picker anybody ever seen in their life. And then your boss come up to you and he like, excuse me, I need you to pick pumpkins. And you're like, but wait, I don't know how to pick pumpkins. I mean, I might be able to figure it out, but that's hard because I'm like, I weigh 100 pounds and pumpkins can range from like 20 to 50 pounds. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to lift this pumpkin. I'm a good apple picker. And they like, nope, you better figure it out. That's it.
But you're talking about your partner, not your boss.
But I'm saying,
and if I'm your partner, I'm going to be like, I know she hasn't picked, pumpkins before. So let me like help her. Let me like give her a few tips or like help her out,
Your boss could give you a few tips as well.
I mean, but see that, even in that regard, your partner, just using that example, they are a dominating force in your life, but they shouldn't be looked at as like, that it shouldn't be a comparison of fault.
But it's not okay.
Yeah.
Your coworker asks you, could you pick up these pumpkins for me because I gotta go home? And they're like,
but I'm your partner.
But you're my partner,
and
right?
I'm going to help you.
But you can't. You physically can't lift the pumpkins because you're too weak. So what do you do that day? You might quit.
Look, all right, guys. So I feel like I get where you both are coming from, but I think that comes into the element of like, if you feel like your partner, y'all just the way like your love languages or whatever, that shit just not working out. Like you're not understanding each other. I think it can be a sign of love to be like, hey, I understand what you need. You have communicated to me. I understand that's not what I need. I love you, but I can't do this. I think it's an act of self-care. I think it needs to be self-love. Yeah, it's a sign of self-love, and it's a sign of love for your partner to be like, I understand what you need and the fact that I can't give that, and it hurts, but like I'm not gonna hold you hostage to this relationship if I'm not providing that, and you're not providing what I need because we're gonna tear each other apart, and that's like hard. And again, going back to the monogamy thing, it's the whole concept of like fairy tales and forever, and feeling like you would have failed if you make that decision. Like it's something we need to work out as we evolve as millennials, as people, all of that stuff, because like people are going to change. People are going to be exposed to things they weren't exposed to before the relationship. Not just other people, but just other concepts in general, where they might feel like, hey, like I need this other thing, but it doesn't mean that you have failed as a partner. It just means that they want something that is different from you, and that's fine. Like it hurts, but it's like, all right, like I'm not going to stay in that situation because that's kind of,
I feel like we've moved into like demanding different things, but still demanding things. Like kind of how we're like, oh, Bobby can't be everything for you. And you're like, okay. So I realized that in theory, which is why I've decided to go explore this sexual interest in somebody else. But you're still asking Bobby to essentially be in a form of monogamy that's not going to work. If this person isn't into open relationships, or they're not willing to like try to explore sexual things, you're asking them to continue to love you, to continue to be secure, to trust that you're not going to develop an emotional connection with other people, to still be. I think it's a lot to ask of somebody.
That's very human.
You're asking them to be your support in all things now.
But it goes back to whose response. I think Bobby should be like, the thing you're asking of
me,
someone else could provide it. But
it's just. I'm scared. Like, because it's cute to be like, you know what? I'm just going to keep this strictly business. But then you might end up talking about your childhood trauma with this person that you done touched who isn't your boyfriend or your girlfriend. And then you done fell into an emotional connection when you didn't mean to. Like, you could have the best intentions, but you never know, I think, what's going to happen. It's the fear of what could happen, I think, that like really freaks people out.
Is it like a lack of trust in our connections then?
I don't think it has anything to do with trust. I think it kind of borders along the desire to need people. You need people. You need people. So you need those human interactions, and you also want to have sex because you're a human. So you might be able to get it one-stop shop with one person, or you might feel like I'm gonna go do it with everybody. But you might not be able to build that emotional connection with multiple people. That just might not be your spiel. I feel like we're looking at it a lot within the general, but I think it all kind of boils down to personal perception. What do you, as Zimbai, Ashley, and Tiffany, and Sierra, think is the best for you? And then does your partner feel the same way in some capacity? Can we make this work? You probably can find somebody who thinks the same way. It's going to be hard. You might be looking for a while, but you can do that.
Yeah.
I don't think people are willing to look at it as just person to person. I think we're looking at it as general, overarching, all guys think this way. They
Yeah.
like having multiple partners, and women are like,
feel
no, I
like-
want to be.
Clarity is the key. Like, I feel like I have been a monogamous person. That's new, y'all. You heard it here first. You can actually be a non-monogamous monogamous.
Do you feel like you've been pushed into non-monogamous partnerships? Is that
do.
what that means? Okay.
I won't say that I don't think I've like never not wanted them, because there was a period of time where I was like, I'm just gonna be out here rowing my boat. I ain't got no destination, but I'm going with the flow, and I was okay with rowing that boat. But now I'm like, I want to put my canoe somewhere. My arms is tired. I don't want to row no more. However, I don't want to be owned. I don't want to be possession. I don't want to feel like the crazy lady always wondering who you talking to, where you been going, what you been doing.
I feel like that's too much to be doing.
I don't want to become that girl. I'm trying to avoid people who could make me feel like that girl. But do I think you can be in a monogamous situation, relationship thing, whatever the kids want to call it these days? I think you can, but we're so afraid of communicating. We just so afraid of like losing whatever we think it is that we're going to lose, even though plot twist, you can get it back. I think people are just so scared that they're kind of getting stuck in like scenarios where ain't nobody happy, ain't no boundaries, and you just out here coasting along. I think that's been me in my life, but I think that I want to find a version of monogamy that's not restrictive.
Can dig that. I totally understand that. Like, I feel like you're right that like people are acting out of fear and not really communicating as much as we should.
Yeah,
I had an interesting comment come through my Facebooks. So the question was similar: is monogamy natural? Like, is this a sign that society is breaking down? Essentially,
It is.
That it is. Well, this user agrees. His comment was that not only is monogamy natural, but it's evolutionary. When culture consistently erodes around you, what is more natural than being loyal to the best friend you have? Promiscuity is a symptom of the current neoliberal attitude, and I think you'll start to see more and more people getting married and having families as a reaction. So, like, I found this interesting that this person connected this to neoliberalism, which Tiff looked up earlier. What did that say?
I had to. It said that it's another form of liberalism that has to do with free markets and capitalism, which has nothing to do with promiscuity.
But we gotta dig deep into it. Like,
do.
does polyamory always mean promiscuity? Like, I think there's an element of that, of like, if you will not sit there and be like, Bobby Q does the same thing all the time and I'm not okay with it, then you must be some promiscuous neoliberalist, apparently.
I feel like we often look down on people because is a polyamorous relationship really any different than a monogamous relationship if you really think about it? Because typically in a polyamorous relationship, people have chosen to be with maybe 2 to 3 other partners, but they are still just with those people. So is it really that revolutionary? And there's a main partner, but is it really that revolutionary to be a polygamist if you're still only deciding to be with 3 people? If you're a real polygamist, like polygamy, that you out here fucking the bitches and getting the hoes.
Now that's marriage,
and
y'all.
Don't marry. It don't
make those
matter.
distinctions.
But there are polygamists who marry polygamists who are like, yes, I still have 2 wives, but I want you to be a 3rd one. That is still a level of commitment to those particular wives.
But it's still monogamy, though.
Yeah.
because
and
you're
I still want
committed.
you to be mine. You might be one of 3, but you're still mine.
So I
And
guess
they are
that
possibly
if
one
we're
of
saying
each
that the
other's.
women are part of the harem or whatever you
Well,
want to
how
call
come
it, they're
there's? I just want to
monogamous.
put out there that there's usually a polygamous relationship, and the man gets the 3 wives. But what about a woman who wanted to have 3 husbands? I'm just saying
Because patriarchy.
because patriarchy. But why is that okay? Why do we have
It's
to
not
be
okay
like
because she's being
suited?
promiscuous. She can't do it.
But why is it
Yeah.
okay for a man to be able to put his dick in 3 different women, but I can't get dick down by 3 different dudes?
All right, with that mic drop.
I'm just
I'm gonna
saying.
give this final thoughts. Do you guys have any final thoughts before we wrap up today? No? All
I
right.
just want to be successful
We just
in
wanna-
love in all things.
Hallelujah.
I just want to be in love, y'all. Remember love?
Amen. Saints.
Did it make you feel loved?
It did.
When's the last time you felt love?
Ooh, that's another
2
topic.
days ago.
So,
Love, not loving, not loving, not some loving.
Hey, you can't put a definition on my
You're right.
love.
You're right.
all right.
Don't you define her love?
No definitions here. So, in conclusion, I think this is a really good topic. This is a great conversation, y'all. If anyone wants to pitch in, you can definitely still let us know on the social medias what your feelings are. We think that monogamy, not necessarily natural, because this came up as well where people are like, what does natural mean? Like showering is not necessarily natural. Yeah, here we are.
I mean, my 4C hair is natural.
You know, I can dig it. But yeah, that there should be enough space in society for us to not be trash as humans to people who want one thing or
You
the
just
other.
gotta talk more.
Yeah.
Stop.
You gotta be
not
honest.
tell them the truth.
Honest.
Stop.
It's okay to want multiple
And
things.
it's okay to
It is.
change.
It is.
It's okay to change,
Yeah.
but it's okay
And don't get mad at other people
if they don't
want
want to change. And if they don't want to change with you, that's okay too.
If you want monogamy, don't let people make you feel bad about it.
No.
You are not
Don't want it,
desperate.
it's okay.
You are a human. You need people, and your need looks like monogamy. Don't let Regina George tell you otherwise.
Don't listen to Regina George. You all know this already. And again, our Twitter handle is at GetYLP, as is our Instagram and our hashtag. That was GetYLP. Thank you for getting down to the nitty gritties with the Get Your Life crew. This was really fun. So, friends, how many of us have them?